The verdict of obedience of the Sharia court to the disobedient Muslim wife. This is a love story written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyright, all rights reserved. All characters in this book are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in the tribal system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief paragraphs in a review to be printed in a newspaper, general journal, or school or university magazines. This is a love story about three Muslim girls who were subjected to gross injustice, severe violence, and abhorrent persecutions by Muslim men, religious leaders, Sharia judges, and police officers in the Islamic community and the religion of Islam. And it is hostile, hateful, and abusive teachings against women's rights, which are innumerable. For example, beating of women, child marriage, circumcision of the private parts of Muslim girls, which is known as female genital mutilation or FGM, slaying them in oral killing, inequality between males and females in inheritance, testimony in court, marriage, divorce, man's guardianship over women, controlling their lives and destinies as if they are minors, physically handicapped or mentally retarded, and forcing them to wear the ibaya, veil, hijab, niqab, or the humiliating black burqa as if they are frightening ghosts. Muslim men are allowed by the Quran to have sex, or rather rape, without the need for marriage. Captive women of far, such as wives, daughters, sisters, even mothers of the defeated enemies, who are called unclean infidels. Islam forbids a Muslim woman to become a president of a country like a Khalifa, or a boss at work, or a judge in court, and is strictly forbidden to lead men or women in prayer as an imama. Moreover, the Prophet Muhammad said the woman is an unclean creature, just like a dog and a donkey, and therefore as a defiled being, she annuls the man's prayer if she passes in front of him while he is praying. Many Islamic countries prevent women from going to school and work, and they are not permitted to drive cars, bicycles, or motorbikes. They are forbidden to practice any kind of sports, such as soccer, volleyball, basketball, and they are not allowed to go to gymnastics, beaches or swimming pools, cinemas or theaters, or act in films and plays. And none of them is allowed to leave the house without her husband or with a muhram, man whom the woman is forbidden to marry, such as her father, or a brother, or a grandfather, or an uncle. They are also not allowed to fall in love with men before marriage or choose their future life partners. This story is about three innocent girls, namely Intisar, Firdaus, and Mona. Part 3. The trials of the two gang members who kidnapped and brutally raped the two innocent girls, Firdaus and Mona. This is a continuation of the narration of the aforementioned love story, which is about the three Muslim girls mentioned above. Chapter 56. The trial of the first gang that kidnapped and raped the first innocent girl. The second kidnap of the first innocent girl, Mona Salahuddin Hashim, at the hands of Abu Shakhur al-Kalib and his gang, promoted the people of the city of Gadarif to put pressure on the police and the criminal court to expedite the trial of the criminals who kidnapped and raped her. For 3 days, the police tried to discover any connection between the first and the second kidnappings, kidnappings of the innocent girl. After harsh interrogations and through investigations by ruthless interrogators, the police accepted the fact that it was the fault of the gang leader Abu Shakhura that led to the kidnapping of the innocent girl Muna again. Therefore, the two kidnappings were considered separate crimes, and the perpetrators should be tried on different days. The investigation also shed light on the case of the so-called disobedient runaway Muslim wife Intisar. Despite this, neither the public nor the police sympathized with her case. Everyone considered her to be a disobedient, rebellious, and immoral Muslim wife. That is why everyone thinks that she should be arrested and forced by the police to submit to the authority of her lawful Muslim husband Hassan. Moreover, they consider her friendship with the rich boy Sami Osman al Tayyib a form of adultery disguised as a forbidden love between a man and a woman before marriage, which was a socially and religiously unacceptable. The final trial of the ring leader Al Wihsh and his 5 gangsters is scheduled to take place on Friday morning at 10 a.m. There was no day in the history of the city of Gadarif when such a large crowd of people gathered to witness the trial as on that historical day. Such a huge crowd did not happen to gather even when the spring of water that became known as Faqih Abu Nafura showed many signs, wonders, and miracles by opening the eyes of the blind and making the lame to walk and the deaf to hear. Even dead corpses of humans, men and women, and carcasses of domestic animals and livestock come to life. At that time, many people came from every city and village in Sudan to receive healing and miraculous treatment and witness such a wonderful wonder of nature. Everyone who visited that site from the divine fountain or the water spring were, counted the Faqih Abu Nafura or the witch doctor of the fountain would not have achieved half the number that gathered to witness the trial of the 6 criminals who kidnapped and raped the fairest innocent girl Muna. Starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, the criminal courtroom began to fill with people. At 8:30 a.m., there was no longer room for latecomers to enter the criminal courtroom. The streets around the courthouse are also crowded with people. Some of them climbed tall trees. Others climbed over nearby buildings, while the most fortunate people sat on the walls of the courtyard. It was announced that the opening of the spacious court to receive people at 6 a.m. Since the court security guards estimated that the number of people exceeded the possible number that the hall could accommodate, it was announced that the people present would have to stand in line. Once the hall is filled to capacity, the rest of the queue will be eliminated. The first 5 rows are reserved for senior officials of the government and dignitaries in the community. Under the FBI category come businessmen, politicians, senior government officials, and religious leaders, while university professors, school teachers, school students, workers, soldiers, lawyers, judges, doctors, nurses, engineers, and university graduates were forced to stand shoulder to shoulder with street cleaners, beggars, homeless people, hustlers, pimps, prostitutes, thugs, sodomites, lesbians, thieves, murderers, feminists, and the like. The courtroom has 4 entrances. The first is reserved for dignitaries. the second for the judge and jurymen, the third for the defendants and guards, and the fourth for the public. Only the fourth door will open at 6 a.m. for the crowd to enter. The other three doors will open at 9 a.m. Since there was still plenty of time left for the public door to open, we should spend this time glancing at the crowd. In the long line, there are all kinds of people. Let us just choose some of the associations and organizations that gathered to witness the trial of Al-Wish and his gang. There is the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslim Sisters Association, the Women's Union, the Women's Rights Association, the Women's Protection Association, and the Wild Girls Association. This group was founded recently by some atheists, communists, and feminists. It consisted of city prostitutes and lesbians. Each of these groups carries a large banner. On each banner was written in large letters a reminder to the judge and jurymen of what the brutal ringleader and his gang deserve as punishment for their heinous crimes against the innocent girl. To mention what is written on each banner, we can list them in order of seriousness. Women's Union: send the beast man Al-Wish and his gang to the gallows. Women's Rights Association: we want the same rights and equality as men. Women's Protection Association: destroy those human beasts among the males. Muslim Sisters Association: we must cover your woman with ibayas, veils, niqabs, or burqas, and circumcise and genitally mutilate the private parts of your small Muslim daughters before they grow up and become adults. Muslim Brotherhood: death to Israel and America, and long live Islam. The criminal code differs from the Sharia code in beauty, security, legitimacy, and fairness. The secular courtroom is 10 times larger than the area of the Islamic court. Normally, 10 people can sit comfortably on one long bench, but that day, 25 to 30 people were stuffed painfully as if they were canned sardines. Most people put their little ones on their lap. There is no such thing as child abuse in the said world. Parents can do whatever they like with their young children, sons and daughters. They can beat their children day and night, and no one will take them away from them. You can even beat and flog your bad son, rebellious wife, or immoral daughter in broad daylight and on the public street, and no one dares to stop you or report you to the police. You can even whip them with a stick or a whip, and no one will dare to hinder you in correcting your disobedient wife, desolate daughter, or other bad members of your offspring. In fact, people will praise you and encourage you to discipline your wife, sister, son, or a daughter. Police officers, security guards, and government agents are everywhere. All of them are in uniforms, except for the government agents who wear civilian clothes to disguise their identities as spies for the ruling power. Some of these guys stand in line. Some sit on benches inside the auditorium, and some climb on walls and trees. They are engaged in talking to the people and trying to find out who dares to speak out against the government. Wherefore, when the trial ends, not only will Al-Wish and his gang be found guilty, but many innocent people will also go behind bars because they spoke against the Islamic government. At 9:30 a.m., there was a sudden silence in the backed hall. All faces turned toward the FBI door. The great and powerful of society, due to wealth, corruption, exploitation, politics, and religion, began to enter one after another. They are well dressed, look healthy, wealthy, and proud. They sat comfortably, five on each bench. Those who were so many wronged by this dignitaries wish in their hearts that the judge would pass the death sentence on them as well. They not only kidnap and rape their daughters, exploit it, and enslave their sons, but also suck their blood by getting rich. Only a few people wish to one day rise in society to such high places and honorable positions, while the crowd of poor and rich people look at the mighty and powerful with eyes full of hatred and envy and, and important personalities look at them with eyes full of pride and arrogance. The said doors opened. The upper and lower classes stop confrontation and, defiance, and their hatred turned into the entrance of criminals. First, they saw three female guards enter with guns in their hands. They are immediately followed by a pretty young girl. The girl entered with her head bowed and her eyes full of tears. Three policemen followed her. One of them directed her with her hand to her chair. The girl sat on her seat without raising her face. Then audience saw another group of male guards walking back into the hall with their weapons, pointing out to some of the people who had yet to come. The five men of the Al-Wish gang followed behind them. They are tied with chains as if they were adorned with chains from top to bottom. They are followed by another group of male guards walking forward with automatic rifles ready to fire at a moment's notice. When the five guards sat in their cage, uh, other criminals, men and women, continued to enter. They are the impudent singers, dancers, and celebrators who have been arrested by the police during the wedding along with the gang. Every two prostitutes and every two homosexuals were carried together. Their faces are devoid of shame and guilt. Some of them chew gum and smile happily at the audience. Some brutal whores and prostitutes on the streets recognize their male clients who slept with them in brothels, and their backseat cars wave their hands at them. Adulterous men wave their hands to some prostitutes they knew. Then the male and female guards quickly push them to their designated seats. All those whore women and whore girls sat around the fairest innocent girl Muna. She looks like a lotus flower that has grown among the mud and dirt. The crowd is looking forward to the appearance of the notorious criminal and the greatest rapist. His arrest, his arrival was delayed beyond the expected time. People are worried. Some of them had already prepared some bad words to shout at him. Some decided to curse him. Others want to tell him what kind of punishment he deserves. Some of those who were bitter and hated him brought some things with them to throw at his face. Things like spoiled eggs, rotten tomatoes, potatoes, onions, and old shoes. The prison authority expected something like this to happen and therefore decided to bring him in only after the judge and jury entered the courtroom. Another suspect who is not directly involved in the crime of kidnapping and rape, but who is arrested on charge of bribery related to the same crime, was ordered to enter the courtroom after dancers, singers, sluts, and sodomites occupied their seats around the innocent girl. When the crowd saw him, they thought he was the goddamn gang leader Al-Wish. As a result, within a few minutes, the evil old man turned into a colorful, moving column of rotten eggs and vegetables. The court clerk announced loudly that the judge and his jury would entered the courtroom in a few minutes. The loud noise caused by the attack of rotten vegetables and spoiled eggs on the evil old man, Mr. Osman al-Tayyib, died instantly. Everyone got to their feet except for the miserable old man. His Majesty the Jet entered, surrounded by 6 jurors and several security men. And while the people were looking on with great admiration at the judge and jurymen, another suspect was escorted into the hall through the criminal's entrance. He is surrounded by 7 heavily armed police guards. The man is bound with heavy iron handcuffs and shackles from head to toe. He walks with difficulty because of the heavy chains. This suspect was taken to the convex cage where the 5 criminals and the despicable old man were seated. Once he was safely placed inside the iron gate, the guards left him and went to their seats. Unfortunately, the man in the strong chains found that there were only 6 seats and none of them was empty. He recognized his 5 gangsters, but he was surprised to see the wretched old man taking his seat. He was alarmed by the intruder and, like a lion finding a wolf in his lair, slapped him from his chair. The evil old man fell upside down and had slashed his face and injured his nose and lips. Then Al-Wish and Al-Qadi, the main judge, simultaneously took their seats. It took a long time for the fallen old man to come to his senses. Instead of standing on his feet, the evil old geezer preferred to sit on the hard floor. His eyes surveyed the audience, and when he saw the rich and great dignitaries, he remembered that he was once proud and arrogant like them. But life had taught him a hard lesson. He began to shed hot tears over his miserable conditions, and when he remembered his beautiful life and fun outside of the jail. Then the court clerk stood between the judge and the audience and invited the prosecutor to come forward and read the charge sheet. Police Inspector Yassin came forward and started reading. Honorable Judge of the Criminal Court of Al Gadarif City, the jurymen, and the estimated court, I would like to present to you the case of the brutal crime committed by the notorious criminal Al-Wish and his gang against the innocent girl Mona Salahuddin Hashim. The indictment was originally prepared by Police Inspector Hussein Hassan Hassanin, who was primarily responsible for the case. However, due to his involvement in the primary charge, he was dismissed and I took over the case. The 6 suspects in Al-Wish gang confessed to their involvement in the crime of kidnapping and rape. Through interrogations, the police were able to collect the following confessions of the 6 criminals. First confession: I, Usman Mahmoud Al-Lajabo, aka Al-Wish, confess that I planned and participated in the crime of kidnapping and raping the innocent girl Mona Salahuddin Hashim. One day while I was driving, I saw a beautiful girl coming out of her school. She's the most beautiful and sexy girl I have ever seen among women. So I stopped the car and asked her to sit in my lap so I could drive her home. The girl refused my invitation and continued walking along the path. I followed her until she got to her house. When she saw me sitting in my car and smiled at her, she entered her house and closed her door angrily in my face. I didn't take her unfriendly behavior to heart because I know that love between a man and woman begins that way. The next day I came at the same time and waited for her to get out of her school. This time I brought her a gold chain as a gift. I knew that beautiful doves needed sugar water to tame them. As she approached my car, I got out and offered her my precious gift. The girl took the chain from my hand and threw it on the ground, stamped it with her shoe, then spat on my face and abused me with the most terrible words. After her angry reaction and spitting on my face, she described me as a despicable stalker and a dishonorable and ugly man who looks like a monkey and a pig, and she moved away from me. I was so insulted and humiliated by her rude behavior, and that I decided to kidnap her. I sent to her one of my best companions, a handsome young man named Omar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. This beautiful young man is also known as the magician. His beauty is like the beauty of our master Joseph, the prophet of God, who was the son of Jacob and who was the most beautiful human being ever created by Allah. My comrades call him the sorcerer because he has a strong masculine charm and unparalleled beauty among the sons of Adam and Eve, which makes every woman a sexy pigeon, a beautiful chick, or even a guy fall madly in love with him at first sight. The messenger of my love, the handsome Umar, the magician, made the beautiful dove that had been stolen. The beautiful dove that had stolen my heart at first sight and fell madly in love with her near her school, and he seduced her with his beautiful looks and sweet words of romance and persuaded her to sit in his car. After speaking some time with her in sweet heart-to-heart talk, some hot kissing, passionate hugging, and other things that lovers do in private to their private parts, the magician offered to drive her home. Sparrow Banana gladly accepted the offer. Instead of her home, she was kidnapped by the sorcerer Omar and brought her to a house between a brothel and a tavern. The dove did not cry out for help or resistance because the handsome magician Omar had sprinkled sleeping powder on her face and she fainted. Once she regained consciousness, she found herself surrounded by four other guys, including the magician. After that, my five companions brought her to me. At first, the dove was not happy to see me. My comrades left us alone and walked out. The lovely sparrow recognized my face, and this made her madder. I asked her to marry me, but she refused. She wanted to go home, but I wouldn't let her. She tried to run away from me, but I caught her. As I held her in my arms, I felt an uncontrollable sexual desire for her sexy body. So I had sex with her against her will. Then she told me, you ruined my life. She further said that she would kill herself before her parents found out that she is not virgin and become pregnant and kill her in honor killing. I told her I will marry her and take her to another city where no man will know her. I suggested taking her to live with me in Port Sudan City. First, she refused my marriage proposal, but when I offered her some money and gold, she agreed to marry me. We made a big celebration and got married according to the will of God and the sunnah of our Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and praise of God be upon him. However, a neighbor thought it was an illegal marriage and alerted the police. This intruder who revealed our secret marriage to the police claimed to be a good citizen. On the second day, the policeman stormed the brothel house and arrested my legal bride, who married her in an Islamic halal marriage and my five companions. They also arrested many innocent people who attended the wedding and celebration. I received a warning message on my mobile phone about a police raid by one of my spies in the law enforcement force a few minutes before it happened. He called me and informed me that the police cars were approaching. I didn't have time to take my bride with me. I just jumped out the window and ran away. On the same day, I traveled by truck to the last city in eastern Sudan. A few days later, I was sold to the police by two of my best friends. Unfortunately, these two friends are the magician Omar and the Hamash Akush with Al Haram. Accordingly, I was arrested by the Port Sudan police and transferred by a police car to Gaddarif prison. When Inspector Yassin finished reading Al Wahsh's words, the audience began to protest against the confession. The judge has to hit his table with his fist several times to establish order and silence once again in the courtroom. When order and silence returned to the courtroom, Police Inspector Yassin began reading the words of the innocent girl. The second statement, I am Muna Salahuddin Hashim, known as the innocent girl. Every day I walk from my house to my school. I usually cross a single road that was shortcut between my school and my house. Oftentimes I see cars parked in that lane. I don't re- I don't really care for those cars. Once I look into one of those cars, I saw a boy and a girl sitting in it, holding each other and doing some nasty things. After that day, when I see a car, I take it as lover's vehicle and turn my face in the opposite direction. I do this because my mother and father told me that this kind of emotional relationship between a boy and a girl before marriage always leads to bad consequences for the girl and her good family. Only bad girls would do such evil things and ruin their lives and bring shame to their families. One day I saw a small black car parked on that deserted road. As usual, I took it as lover's car and passed it, turning my face in the opposite direction. Suddenly, I felt some hands grab me from behind and close my mouth. They dragged me into their car. I saw some boys inside. Before I could do anything scare them to notice others and ask for help, the boys closed my mouth with long turban and tied my hands and feet with strong ropes. Then they forcibly inserted my bound body between the back seats. That done, they drove up and took me to a far place. Then they took me out of their car and dragged me into a desolated house. Inside that house, I saw an ugly looking man whom they introduced to me as their chief. I've never seen that and I'd never seen him before. They call him the Beast. As his name implies, he's a brutal man. That evil man subjected me to brutal rape. After repeatedly raping me, he allowed his 5 men who had kidnapped me to brutally gang rape me as well. The last thing I could remember of that fateful day before I lost consciousness was that my private parts and other parts of my body were bleeding profusely. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in the hospital. After reading the second statement, Inspector Yassin waited for some time for the crowd to wipe away their tears and remove their anger at Al-Wahsh and his gang members before he could read the second confession. It was a long wait because the audience kept us cursing and insulting the 6 criminals for a while. It was again the judge who restored order and silence in the courtroom when he repeatedly struck his gavel on his table. The third confession, I am Umar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir, aka the magician. I confess that Mr. Osman Mahjoub Allah Jabo, aka Al Wahsh, the beast man, sent me along with 4 other boys to kidnap a beautiful teenage girl near her school. He gave us a full descriptions of the girl. He claimed he fell in love with her at first sight. He drew up the kidnapping plan and provided us with a stolen car 4 days before the kidnapping took place. We parked it on an empty pedestrian road not far from the school and waited for the pretty girl to appear. When she came, we caught her off guard and carried her to our ringleader. As soon as we brought her to him, the gang leader prepared for a wedding and summoned male singers and female dancers from Kassala city. On that day, the master groom, Al-Wahsh, spent money lavishly on his wedding with his kidnapped bride. Then, with the blessing of God Almighty and His noble Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, the virtuous Maulana Abu Bakr Yasin, the Imam of a mosque, as a recognized Mazoon, had performed the marriage of Usman Mahmud Al Jabu Al Wahsh with the virgin girl Muna Salahuddin Hashim. On the same evening, the groom and his bride consummated their Islamic marriage and had halal sex together. When the groom became very drunk and sexually satisfied, he forced me and the other four boys to go to the bride and have sex with her. When I refused to enter the room of his bride, the beast Al-Wahsh threatened to kill me. On the following morning, after the happy wedding, a traitor among the clients of the pimp of the brutal house, who is probably one of the prostitutes and drunkards, and claiming that his name is the good citizen, informed the police about the halal marriage. When the police raided the house, they beat us with patterns and sticks and shot some innocent male and female singers and dancers who came from Kassala city. We later learned from the policemen that the leader of the gang, Mr. Al-Jabu Al-Wahsh, had escaped. Inside the police headquarters, we were severely beaten. 2 hours later, the police inspector Hussein Hassan Hassanin told me that I had been released on bail, which was paid by my honorable son-in-law, Mr. Usman Al-Taib, who had recently married my younger sister Firdos. Then I was taken to my home, and there I received good care and medical treatment from an excellent private doctor and four lovely nurses. A week later, a friend of mine called Shakush Wad Al Haram visited me. He is a messenger from our leader, the fugitive beast Al Wahsh, and he brought me a letter from him asking for some money to help him escape from the country and smuggle himself into Egypt. I gave the hammer Al Shakush some hard currency and he left the same night. Then I learned through police inspector Hussein that Shakush was arrested as soon as he left my house. They said they had made ambush in front of my house, waiting for Al-Wahsh or his messenger to come and visit me. Through him, the police came to know Al-Wahsh hideout and arrested him as well. A few days later, I was also arrested along with my younger sister's husband, Mr. Osman Al-Tayyib. After reading the entire confession of the messenger Umar, of the magician Umar, the audience's reaction was not the same as before when Al-Wahsh false confession was read. This time, some of them got out of their seats and charged the six criminals and the despicable old man. They are determined to carry out vigilante justice on the six kidnappers and rapists inside the courtroom before the judge issues the death sentence on them. But the guards and some policemen intervened and saved the life of the criminals. It is a common occurrence in the courts in Sudan, India, and many other countries of the said world from time to time that some criminals are killed inside the courtrooms at the hands of the angry crowd at them. Accordingly, the judge and jurymen decided to pacify the angry multitude of people inside the courtroom and thus called for an hour's recess. During intermission, The 6 criminals, the evil old man, the singers, and the dancer were removed from the courtroom. Only the fairest innocent girl was left sitting alone. Now Mona sits alone under hundreds of eyes. Although she wasn't looking at them, she could feel their eyes burning her face like flames of fire. Their shrill words, like the tongues of angry beasts, passed through her ears and entered her body, causing excruciating pain to her old wounds. She knows that everyone in the courtroom blames her for her kidnapping. Her cousin Kamal, who was engaged to him before she was kidnapped, called off their engagement after spreading bad rumors about her. He blamed her for her kidnapping. He told his relatives, friends, neighbors that his fiancée, Muna, accepted the kidnappers' offer when they offered to transfer her from school to her home. She got into their car willingly. If she was a girl as morally good as and innocent as she later claimed, she should not have consented to entering the car of strangers. After this, false rumors spread about her everywhere in the city, especially from her cousin and fiancé. Everyone saw that Mona was a really bad girl and that she could go with any rich boy who asked to drive her in his car. Unfortunately, her rape for the second time at the hands of the evil sorcerer Haj Muhammad, who also received a lot of publicity through the police and local newspapers, reinforced the above belief and increased the pain and suffering of the fairest innocent girl Muna, who was subjected to horrible abuse. In addition to all this, her second kidnapping by Abu Shakur and his gang is the final nail in her coffin, removing any doubts about her innocence. Therefore, the phrase innocent girl is just an empty phrase that does not make sense to many people. They saw it, they say it with their lips, but in their minds, they firmly believe that she must be blamed for all the evils that have happened to her. They would rather wish she died by suicide than live with such disgrace. They will crown her with the really innocent girl title of honor if she kills herself by drinking poisons or burns her body, which was defiled by 6 rapists. Or even if her father killed her in an honor killing to cleanse his family of shame, this too would be a great and honorable deed. These are the sorts of the fairest innocent girl, Muna Salahuddin Hashim, and the audience on the last day of the trial. Some talkative woman started spreading the rumor that the innocent girl was pregnant with an illegitimate child or an unlawful love baby through one of her rapists. So their angry men began to wonder what the fate of such an illegitimate child would be. And some enthusiastic young men swore to each other that if she were his sister, he would burn her alive and kill with her the child of the forbidden sex who was inside her womb. Only a few teenage girls shed hot tears over the innocent girl Muna because they know such tragedy can happen to any girl of their age. An hour later, the judge and the jurymen returned to the courtroom. Everyone got to their feet except for Muna. Two huge police women grabbed her shoulders and forced her to her feet. When the judge and jury took their seats, there was a silence in the courtroom. You can hear the sounds of flies flying from the body of a man to the head of another woman, or the mouth of a boy or a girl open to the nose of a sleeping old woman who was snoring. And all the people sat silently as if they were in a mosque waiting for the imam to start the prayer or at funeral place of mourning, they wanted to bury the dead innocent girl who died socially out of the shame of her rape. After a few minutes of silence, the judge began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, for security reasons, this court has retained the brutal gang leader, his 5 gang members, and all other suspected singers and dancers to Gadarif Central Prison. During the hour-long intermission, the jailer and I met and discussed the serious charges. After a careful examination of the crime of kidnapping and rape committed against the innocent girl Mona Salahuddin Hashim by Al-Wahsh and his gang, this court ruled that all suspects were guilty. On this basis, the court issued the following rulings on all suspects. Osman Mahmoud Al-Lajabu, nicknamed Al-Wahsh, was sentenced to 14 years in prison with hard labor. Omar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir, nicknamed the Magician, was sentenced to 14 years in prison with hard labor, in addition to 2 years for escaping from prison through bribery. The other 4 rapist criminals were sentenced to 14 years imprisonment with hard labor. All singers and dancers who came from the city of Kassala were sentenced to 4 years in prison each. Police Inspector Hussein Hassan Hassanain was sentenced to 6 months in prison and is to be expelled from the police force forever. Mr. Osman Al-Taib was sentenced to 6 months in prison, and the government confiscated the money he paid as a bribe to former police inspector Hussein. These funds are added to the government treasury for the benefit of the public. The good citizen Walid Hamza, who directed the police authority to the crime scene and also exposed the crime of rape, of bribery, and helped the police in rearresting the fugitive magician known as Omar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir, should be rewarded by the government with amount of 5 billion Sudanese pounds. The trial is over. The deputy of police officers, Inspector Yassin Yunis, shouted. The crowd of people had already become extremely angry at the court protection given to the brutal ringleader and his gang. When they learned that the gang members were sent back to the prison for security reasons, they felt very angry. They became even more angry when they understood that neither Al-Wahsh nor any of his 5 gang members had been sentenced to death. When the judge issued his rulings, people got to their feet and started voicing their protest. Their protest soon turned into shouting. When their screams and could not be heard, they began beating their hands on the benches, doors, and windows. The judge and jurymen were immediately surrounded by police. Under tight security, His Majesty the judge and the jurymen were able to leave the courtroom. Then the VIP door was opened and the policemen escorted the influential in the community to their cars one by one. By then, the angry mob was out of control. Angry people began breaking windows and doors of the criminal courtroom, and some proceeded to attack police officers. Law enforcement officers initially attempted to control the angry mob with large police batons. Once these bladed weapons proved ineffective, the police dispersed the angry mob with tear gas. On that day, had it not been for friends Salah, Sami, and Walid, the first innocent girl Muna might have been attacked and gang raped in broad daylight. She might have also been brutally murdered in an honor killing at the hands of some angry men. Once the trial was over, her 3 friends surrounded her and pulled her out of the courtroom. Then they stopped a taxi and drove her safely to her house. The criminal court and the government rewarded the good citizen Walid Hamza for his heroic act by reporting the crime to the police. However, the first innocent girl, Muna, the victim, did not receive a single word of consolation from the judge. He did not even mention a word of pity to her while he was reading his judgments against her kidnappers and rapists. They should have given her at least part of the massive amount of bribe paid by the evil old man to the corrupt police officer in charge of the case to release the notorious criminal magician Umar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. The government took the bribe money from the bank account of the corrupt police inspector Hussein. Instead of compensating the first innocent girl Muna Salahuddin Hashim for the heinous crime that was committed against her, depriving her of her virginity and creating her pure body, the government confiscated or rather stole a large sum of money. The large bribe paid by the evil old man to the corrupt police inspector was more than 300 billion Sudanese pounds. Chapter 57: Transfer of a convicted dangerous criminal. The evil old man became very pleased with the justice of the Gadaref City Criminal Court. He is the only defendant who felt he received less punishment than he deserved. He expected his sentence to be in years. He wouldn't be surprised if he learned later that his sentence most probably mistook by the judge from a 6 year to a 6 months. He became very happy that day when his friend Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk came and gave him the good news. He knows he has already spent 2 months in prison and only has 4 months left. The corrupt doctor who took a huge bribe assured him that he would make him spend those remaining 4 months in the hospital instead of in prison in his private room. However, the old man remembered his sworn enemies and decided to resume his plan of destroying them and separating Sami from Intisar forever. Therefore, he asked his criminal friend Maulana Sheikh Marzouk to bring to him the son of the imprisoned politician, the alleged husband of the so-called disobedient runaway Muslim wife Intisar. The religious leader left immediately and returned an hour later with Hassan Mahjoub al-Hilali. "My beloved son Hassan," says the old man, while his vile mouth foams and screams like an old hyena or an angry ogre. "I am a brave man who never accepts a defeat. I will fight until the last moment of my life. I am like Satan, the damned devil. I am the hard one. I am the bad guy, the wicked sinner, the painful injection, and the son of a mad dog. I'm the one who has risen from his grave as a zombie, and the one who shapeshifted to a werewolf in the night of the full moon. I'm the ghoul at Dudu, the boogeyman, and I am the ugly Grinchina, the hippopotamus. I am the red genie and the black Ifrit. My motto is to do it or die for it. The disobedient runaway wife Intisar is your lawful Muslim wife. Because of how we were humiliated and imprisoned, your father, the great politician, Sayyid Mahjoub al-Hilali, the mighty witch doctor, Haj Muhammad, the magician Umar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir, my rich eldest son Mustafa, and I are the greatest wealthy business tycoon in Sudan, have all of us gone down in prisons because of that poor and dirty whore Intisar. But let prison not stop us. Now it is your turn to fight for your lawful Muslim wife, Intisar, whom you have bought with your money from her legal guardian, her brother Umar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. This righteous Imam, Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, will be with you. The other 3 spices of TS gang will also be with you. I am with you with my money. From today, I entrust you with the responsibility of the research team. Look for her everywhere. Don't worry about the expenses. I will cover all costs. Go meet Chief Kia and his dangerous men and tell them to keep looking. Remember one important thing: when she is found, don't let them kidnap her. Let the police kidnap her and bring her to you through the verdict of obedience, which is issued to against her by the Sharia court. Like the cops arrested my first Muslim wife and brought her to me into the obedience house, who was her damned sister Firdos. Just show the police your halal marriage contract, the rule of obedience of the Sharia court, and her hiding place. I will follow your wise advice, Uncle Osman. Now listen to my plan and do it. It is as simple and easy as drinking water. Just follow my damned son Sami wherever he goes. Don't waste your time and energy with his evil friend Salah or the other assholes. I repeat, your only target is Sami. Wherever he goes, you go. Wherever he sleeps, you must sleep near that place. Watch him day and night. He's the only son of a bitch who will lead you to your fucking Muslim wife. Do not let him continue to fuck her with his dirty dick in her filthy pussy, as if she is his lawful wife, until he makes her womb pregnant with what haram or a son of adultery like him. I will follow your good advice and do what you asked me to do, Uncle Osman. If you do it, you will defeat your enemies and win your Muslim wife. Well, Uncle Osman, I will put your excellent plan into practice very soon. Now go and show yourself as a trustworthy man. I will never disappoint you, my dear uncle. I never want to see your face again without your pregnant wife Intisar. Okay, Uncle Osman. Go now, my dear son Hassan, said the hypocrite Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, and God willing, the angels of the most merciful will go with you. When the newly appointed leader of the search team received the advice of his spiritual leaders, he left the hospital ward and went home. After that, the old man and Imam Maulana remained sitting silent for a long time. Their minds are full of ideas. Their hearts are full of fears and doubts. A pretty young nurse broke their silence when she came in and handed a move notice to the sinister old man. The note reads as follows: from the Al-Qadari Police Authority to the Al-Qadari General Hospital staff. The convicted prisoner, Mr. Usman Tayyib, must be notified that he will be transferred to Kobar Central Prison in the Triangle, capital city of Sudan, Khartoum, tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. He is wanted to be referred for interrogations by the Khartoum police on charge of killing his first wife, Firdos Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. As soon as the old convict read his deportation notice, he began to tremble with fear and panic like a hunchbacked 90-year-old Asian man. The old fox, the criminal rapist and murderer, almost forgot his involvement in another kidnapping and rape crime. The notice brought back to his mind the memory of the brutal rape and murder of the second innocent girl Firdos again. Therefore, the old African jackal began to shake like a coward murderer. He also started to cry like someone who was sentenced to die in gallows. All his happy moments due to his lenient sentence burned inside his corrupt mind and came out of his evil heart like thick black smoke. Have courage, Osman, says Maulana. By the will of God Almighty and thanks to his holy prophet Muhammad, they will prove your innocence again. Remember that no Muslim husband will be condemned for having halal sex with his lawful Muslim wife. You didn't rape her and you didn't kill her. That foolish girl killed herself. She refused to eat or drink and starved herself to death. Your lawyer, God willing, will prove to the criminal court in Khartoum City that your first wife, Firdaus, committed suicide. Oh, Honorable Maulana and our blessed Imam, I need a very good lawyer to save me from this crime. I'm willing to pay any amount of money to be acquitted of that false accusation. That will be taken care of. Don't worry. I will personally go to Khartoum City and appoint a good lawyer for you. Relax and leave the rest to God Almighty and His infallible Messenger Muhammad, and to me as the virtuous Imam of the largest mosque of God in this city. Maulana Al Mubarak, I put you in charge of this legal case and allow Hassan T and his spies to do the other work of looking for that dirty whore. I repeat, our eminence Imam, I swear by the Holy Quran before you and Allah and His Prophet, whatever money these two important missions may cost, I will gladly pay them, and also all the fees of those who undertake them, I will cover them. I'm honored to do your work, my best friend, Mr. Osman Taib. May God grant you a success and bless your four wives and their offspring. Amen. Lord of the heavens and the earth. Amen. Lord of the worlds, the God of Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob. The next three wives of the notorious monogamist. The next day, all three wives of the notorious polygamist, the lustful old man, the rapist and murderer of the late second innocent girl Firdaus, gathered at the civil hospital. His sons, daughters, grandchildren, servants, maids, their neighbors, and guards came with them to see their mutual husband, father, and grandfather. They came 2 hours before the call. The old man was deported to the capital city. The imprisoned convict was informed by the hospital authority that a police car would arrive at 10:15 a.m. He must be ready and get into the carriage just in time, or the police will drag him like a notorious criminal and throw him into their car. So he was advised to cooperate with the police authority as an obedient prisoner. The journey from Gadar City to Khartoum City in a police car takes a full day and a full night. 24 hours is required if the police car is to run continuously without malfunction or a delay. For an ordinary car, the trip will take no more than 5 to 6 hours at most. But as for the police car, because the driver and the car are as old as the old man himself, the journey can be expected to take this long. When the wealthy business tycoon learned of his means of transportation to the triangular capital city of Sudan, he wept bitterly because he remembered his previous trips to the capital city. He was always flying back and forth to Khartoum City and other big cities in Sudan. He couldn't remember when he last traveled by a car or a train. He believes he was born to fly from city to another, from one country to another, and from one continent to another. He also remembers the beautiful days he spent in five-star hotels in Arab and Western countries. Even in five-star hotels, he never stayed in a standard room or a deluxe room, but his dorm was always a beautiful deluxe room where he spent time bare naked in the jacuzzi tub. But unfortunately, this time in Khartoum City, he will live in a dungeon or a barracks full of crooked thugs and dangerous criminals. He has to deal with corrupt police guards and other criminal vigilantes who might beat him up if he doesn't pay them well for protecting him. Anyway, at 9:30 in the morning, the two police guards watching over him were either bribed by his friend Maulana Sheikh Marzouk or moved to beat him and thus allowed the convict old man to mingle and talk to his three families. He spent an hour in the hospital unchained, cuddling his grandson, kissing his granddaughter, scolding a daughter, yelling at one wife, and threatening another woman. The police car came as scheduled on time, but the convict was too busy to come in time. Accordingly, two angry policemen jumped out of their car and went to search for the convicted prisoner, Mr. Osman al-Tayyib. It took them 10 minutes to locate him. When they reached him, they saw that one of his three wives was hugging him tightly. The old man is not happy to be impressed by her, but because of the relatives around him, he pretended to be sad because he would miss such a dear old wife. Yet the old wife is genuine in her affections. This sincerity of her affection moved the hearts of his two other wives with bitter jealousy. So they wiped away their tears and went and assaulted the body of the commonly shared polygamous husband. While the three wives are embracing the old husband due to the competition of the rival wives, their legs are kicking like crazy cows the body of their polygamous co-husband, while their hands pushing and pinching each other's bodies. The old man's body began to struggle under the wife's grips. He wants to free himself before the rival woman tear him in two. As he fights for his life, for four more hands join the group. Those new hands are trying to snatch him from the rival wives. The old man became a victim of two forces. Both powers claimed the right to his body, corrective power and marital power. The old man's hands became like a rope in competition, pulled from two directions by tough guys. Ultimately, with great difficulty, the male force overcame the female force. Then the two policemen took the old man to their car. Once the convict was thrown into the police wagon, the dangerous journey to Khartoum city began. It will be more difficult, miserable, and more dangerous than the journey of the witch doctor Haj Muhammad from the village Dalasa, to which he fled on foot with his two criminal friends, the imam of the largest mosque and the imprisoned politician, and then returned alone to the city of Gadarif. The old man's three competitive wives started crying and wailing and throwing dust on their heads. His daughters and granddaughters began to cry too, while his sons and grandsons and the Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk started shouting and saying in unison, the breathing for the brave man. With tears falling from his eyes, the old man waved his final farewell to his three families and to his spiritual leader and Imam. The convicted old geezer does not know whether he will see his family members again or not. He is worried that he will be tried and convicted by the criminal court for the brutal rape and vicious murder of his late first wife Firdaus. Then he gets hanged to death in the gallows and descended to hell and be tormented forever by the devil with pitchfork in his hands. The old police wagon crawled for a few hours within the city before hitting the highway. When it crept for another 30 minutes on the highway, the car broke down. It took the cops 6 hours to get their slow-paced engine running again. The old man lost his patience during the long hours of waiting. He shouted, threatened, and fought with the policemen. He did everything for them except beat up any one of them. Whenever he got into one of these fits of rage, the policemen brought him under control by slapping, kicking, and beating him. In this way, whenever the convict submitted, they let him go, and whenever he became violent, they calmed his tantrums with their clubs. The carriage began to crawl like an old tortoise down the highway. After many hours of silence, the old man fell asleep, and when he got up, he found the time in the middle of the night. He saw the two policemen asleep, except for the driver. The old man fell asleep again, and when he woke up, he discovered that the sun was in the middle of the sky at noon. When he inquired as to where they had reached so far, they were told that they had reached the outskirts of the capital city of Sudan. They said they still had to travel a few hours within Khartoum city to reach their final destination. The old man suddenly became worried. His mind reminded him of his bitter experience with the ruthless police interrogators and vicious criminals bodyguards from the Kuku or the Shaitan gang when he entered Gaddafi prison. He expected the ruthless prisoners of Khartoum jail to force him to choose between giving his money to their protection and service or beating him day and night. He knows that the police investigators will leave him with no such choice. The old man concluded that he would be severely beaten by the interrogators if he denied his involvement in imprisoning, beating, raping, tying, and killing his first wife, Firdaus. So his mind is stuck between two horns of a difficult dilemma. While trying to figure out how to escape from such a dilemma, the slow police wagon finally reached Kobar Central Prison. Despite this, the prison gate was opened immediately to accept the convicted prisoner. The guard saw the convict's uniform and knew where he came from. The number of the convict and the name of the city and prison from which he was transferred were written on his prison uniform. Therefore, his prison uniform number allowed him easy access to Kobar Central Prison. Therefore, the old man's prediction proved wrong. First of all, he was not sent to the confinement room or the dark interrogation room. Second, when other inmates saw him, they did not treat him as a suspect, but as a convicted prisoner and fellow jailbird. When the old man entered the prison, he found the suspects and convicts scattered everywhere like a swarm of free birds because it was a free time for rest. From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., the prison inmates are released from their dorms and cells and allowed some freedom. However, no prisoner would dream of escaping from Kobar Central Prison. The inmates were closely guarded by both humans and animals. The animals are fierce police dogs and dangerous crocodiles. Every single one of those predatory dogs could eat a horse. Half of the prison walls are surrounded by a river inhabited by carnivorous crocodiles. If the prisoner miraculously managed to climb the high wall, he would fall into the water and be eaten alive by crocodiles. The other half of the prison walls are guarded by armed guards and sniper dogs. Before facing the voracious animals, the prisoner must escape from the guards who watch the prison from inside and outside. Some of them will move up and down within the wall, and above them there will be others walking back and forth over the wall. So if the prisoner can evade the bullets of the internal guards, he will not escape the machine guns of the snipers above the walls. The walls are built in such a way that not even insects can climb successfully. Besides, it was inserted by sharp metals, broken bottles, pointed irons and very hard stones. In addition, it is very high. That is why, until the time the evil old man entered the prison peacefully, it did not report that any prisoner missing or escaping from Kobar Central Jail. The prison was built a century ago by a British gentleman by the name of Mr. Kober, and it is from him that the maximum security prison gets its infamous name. It is the place where many rival politicians and dangerous criminals were either hanged or starved to death. The famous Sudanese Islamic thinker Mahmoud Muhammad Taha was hung in that notorious prison. It is more dangerous than the ghost houses established and allocated by the Islamic terrorist government to torture opponents of this oppressive rule. As soon as the despicable old man entered the prison, he was surprised to see two strange phenomena that he had not seen in Gadaref Central Prison. In the first phenomenon, he saw some prisoners praying to Allah. In the second phenomenon, he observed a large crowd of prisoners gathered around someone who was giving them an intellectual lecture. The old man is not a devout Muslim or a good man, as he always falsely claims, and he rarely prays and any prayer a day and never fasts in the month of Ramadan. So he preferred to join the large crowd. When he reached the great assembly, the old hyena recognized this lecturer. That prisoner is in the investigation crisis of adultery charge. He is a dark shadow or a black version of his evil political friend, Mr. Mahjoub al-Hilali. The adulterous great politician seemed to the vile old man as if he had been starved, beaten, tortured, and did not sleep for several days. The convict Mr. Osman al-Taib started crying when he saw his evil friend in that miserable condition. When the speaker saw his former criminal friend and companion in the heinous crimes they had committed against the two innocent sisters, Intisar and Firdos, he stopped speaking and went to the despicable old man and embraced him and began to weep as well. The miserable state of the adulterous politician revealed to the imprisoned rich businessman what he might expect of what he would look like after a few months in such a dangerous and bottomless pit. If he can escape death and starvation by bribing criminal vigilantes with his vast fortune and wealth, he may turn into a walking and talking black ghost or a human skeleton just like his evil political friend. Chapter 58: The Abhorrent Apostasy and the Impossible Demand. After the trial of the gang that kidnapped and raped the fairest innocent girl, the two inmate lovers, Salah and Muna, decided to get married. The innocent girl became depressed and had strong suicidal thoughts because of the humiliation she was subjected to in the criminal courtroom on the final day of the trial of the gang of Al-Wash. She shared her serious problem with her boyfriend Salah. The kind recognized Sudanese lawyer realized that the only way to get his beloved girlfriend out of her depression and suicidal thoughts was to marry her. He also felt that Muna needed not only his affectionate words, but his love and constant daily marital companionship as well. In accordance, their wedding day was set 2 weeks after the day of the historical kidnapping and rape trial. During that period, the five friends, Sami, Salah, Mona, Walid, and Badriya, were very worried about their fugitive friend Intisar. Even her mother Sarah is very concerned about the mysterious disappearance of her daughter. None of the friends told her where Intisar had run away to. The fugitive daughter never called on phone or wrote a letter to her worried mother. As we mentioned earlier, the two friends learned after their release from prison from Salah's mother that Intisar had called her, her, her phone several times while they were in prison. Then the lawyer's mother told her son that his friend his friend Sami that Intisar promised to call again after Sami and Salah were released from prison. Therefore, since the day of their release, her lover Al-Walhan has been waiting by the phone day and night, waiting for her phone call. It is a day before the first innocent girl Muna and the recognized Sudanese lawyer Salah's wedding finally came. The much anticipated phone call from the so-called fugitive disobedient Muslim wife to her lover Sami. My love, Intisar, Sami shouted happily when he found out that she was on the phone. Yes, my dear lover Sami, I'm your beloved Intisar. The fleeing girl shouted with a trembling voice while she was crying. I miss you so much, my dear beloved Intisar. I want to see you. I want to take you in my arms and kiss you. I miss you too, my dearly beloved Sami. Where have you been all that time? What happened to you, my precious Intisar? Where do you live now, my beloved fiancé? And with whom do you live? Dear Sami, I can't tell you where I live or talk to you on the phone a lot. I want you to come to me in Khartoum City immediately. But at least tell me, who do you live with? I live with a Christian family. They are very kind and exceptionally loving people, but I can't give you their address nor their phone number. I will meet you tomorrow in their church near the largest mosque in the capital city. Well, I will come to you soon, but not tomorrow, because Salah and Muna are getting married tomorrow. Are they really going to get married tomorrow? Yes, my dear. I'm sure you are feeling really sad that you can't come to their happy wedding celebration. Can't they postpone their marriage for another day? Not possible, my love. Everything is decided for tomorrow. They have already distributed their wedding invitation cards to the guests. Are you planning to attend their wedding? Yes, of course. I'm Salah's best friend. My dear Sami, you must come here on the day of tomorrow. If you don't come to Khartoum City tomorrow, our hope may be lost. We live in a state of flight, a lost hope forever. Tomorrow is the only day we will fulfill our life's dream. My love, this is an impossible requirement. I cannot come to you tomorrow. I thought, my dear Sami, you would never refuse my request. You said you were ready to give up everything and everybody for my love. But today you proved that you are not faithful to my love. You have changed a lot during these few days we have been we have been apart. What would you do, dear Sami, if our circumstances separated us for more than a month? After speaking those heartbreaking words, Intisar started crying loudly on the phone. Why are you crying, my beloved fiancé Intisar? I don't understand what made you lament. I promise I will come to you the day after tomorrow. No, my dear lover Sami, tomorrow is the only day we can make our dream come true. If you delay your coming tomorrow to Khartoum City, by one day we will miss a golden opportunity. Oh, my love Intisar, you know I love you so much, but at the same time, you know how dear Salah and Muna are to me, so I cannot miss their wedding. That is why it is impossible for me to come to you tomorrow. Whatever this golden opportunity of life you are talking about has to wait. After hearing the words of her dear lover, Intisar became very angry and started crying and saying in a loud voice, I know, Sami, I was born into a poor and miserable family to suffer. I know I'm not supposed to dream about your marriage. I'm supposed to be your slave girl or a maid servant, not your wife. The girl Samia, the daughter of the Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, is the right choice for you. I'm from a poor family, and you are the son of the richest man, and she is the daughter of the Imam of the largest mosque in our city, Al Gadarif. So I am not worthy to be your wife or a life partner. But Sumaya, the daughter of Maulana, is, because she is a virtuous girl. I'm from a rich family. What is wrong with you, my love and fiancé Intisar? I cannot understand why you have condemned yourself and your precious family for no reason. You know you are the soulmate of my life, and you know how much I love you and value more than anyone else in this world. I don't love Maulana's daughter Samia and has not another girlfriend except you alone. As I promise you, my love Intisar, um, I am and always will be willing to give up the whole world for your love. So I will never think of marrying any girl other than you. If you really love me, my dear Sami, you must sacrifice everything and come to me in Khartoum city tomorrow. Well, my sweetie Intisar, first of all tell me, what will happen if I come to you on the on on the day of tomorrow? You and I will become what Salah and Mona will be tomorrow. Do you understand what I said, or do you want more explanation? This is really the happiest news I have ever heard, but I still need more explanation about this happy and amazing piece of information. How did you manage, my sweet darling, to solve our intractable and insoluble problem? The person who will help us get married will come to Sudan tomorrow morning and will go back to his country tomorrow night. So if you don't come tomorrow, we'll miss the chance of our lives forever. In this case, I think our dear friends Salah and Mona will understand the urgency of the matter. Tomorrow I will take the bus at 6:30 in the morning and be with you in Khartoum city around 12:30 noon. Is that a good promise, my love Intisar? Yes, it is a full promise, my dear Sami. I'll meet you tomorrow afternoon at the biggest church in the capital city, which is located in front of the largest mosque in Sudan. Wait a minute, my sweet Intisar. There is a small technical problem that I forgot to tell you about. We still have this evil spies of the selfish man Hassan standing around Salah's house where I live now, and they follow us wherever we go. How can I come to you unless I bring these Zags with me? Look, my dear Sami, we have sort of that and made good arrangements. Therefore, you have to get out of Salah's house and just walk in front of their eyes and take the Al Taysir bus and come here. Well, my love Intisar, I trust you about that. Now I have one last question before I hang up. What is your last question, my dear lover Sami? What is who, what is this man who will help us to get married? Is this good man a lawyer or a senior government official? He's a religious man. What did you say? Sam exclaimed in astonishment. A religious man? Is it not because of these religious people that we are in this intractable problem? How can a clergy man help us? He is neither an imam of a mosque nor a judge in the Sharia court. He is a Christian pastor of a church. How can a Christian priest of a church help us if he knows we are not followers of his faith. But dear Sami, his Christian religion is our only hope. Oh, my love Intisar, you must be beside your mind. How do we deceive the Christian breeze when we are not Christians? But my dear Sami, Christianity is our only hope. Unless we become Christians, we cannot get out of that trap that these wicked Muslims have put us into. Therefore, by following this remaining available solution, we can be released from their snare. My beloved Intisars, don't tell me those Christians you live with have brainwashed you. We cannot pretend to become Christians because we have an unsolvable problem. We are Muslim by birth, and therefore we must not deny our religion. Sami, I have a lot of important things to tell you, but I cannot explain them to you over the phone. So if you really love me, come tomorrow and I will explain everything to you. Well, my love, I have promised you I would come to you in Khartoum city tomorrow. But I don't want to hear about this Christian bullshit you have just mentioned. Sami, I'm now a Christian girl. I left Islam and converted to Christianity. No one among the Christian people I live with has brainwashed me or forced me to do so. I did it of my own free will. Once Sami heard the last words of Intisar, the phone fell out of his hand and he fell too. Salah, his friend Salah, is close enough to catch him before he falls flat on his face. When he helped him sit on a chair, the lawyer took the handset and spoke to the fugitive wife. Intisar, this is me, Salah. What did you say to your lover Sami that he was so shocked? Can I talk to him again? Please wait. Then the lawyer handed the phone over to his shocked friend. Sami took the phone from his friend's hand and resumed his conversation with girlfriend. Yes, Intisar. The lover Sami never said the name of his beloved girlfriend Intisar without using some romantic phrases such as my love, my life, my sweetie, my dear girl, the girl of my dreams, the hope of my life, the companion of my life journey, my soulmate, and familiar words of affectionate love between intimate lovers. This is the first time since he met her in the cinema Al-Wataniya theater in the city of Gadarif and fell in love with her at first sight. He called her Intisar without adding any of her beloved titles. Why are you so shocked, Sami? Did I tell you that I left you and fell in love with someone else? It would have been more tolerable if you cheated on me than what you have done. Have I committed a crime? It is more than a crime. It is a high treason. You sold your religion and our love for nothing. Well, Sami, I do not want now to respond to this false accusation that you made against me or defend the sincerity of our eternal love. But we must meet tomorrow in the capital city and we will talk about this matter in more detail. But remember, my dear Sami, if tomorrow at noon you will not come to me in the church, our love will end and we will be separated forever. When the Habiba Intisar spoke her last words of warning and threatening to her Habibi, Sami, she cut the line. The lover Sami could not believe his ears that the girl who had just spoken to him on the phone was his dear, beloved girlfriend Intisar. He regretted speaking to her after such a long and painful separation. Then the handsome boyfriend of the beautiful, beloved girlfriend Intisar held the receiver and wept for her for a long time. Perhaps he would not feel so sorry and so sad for her death if he knew that she committed suicide and drowned in the waters of the Nile River on that Sunday morning and died and was gone forever when she tried to get rid of her unbearable life that was full of endless suffering and abuse. Salah tried by all means available to him to console him or find out the reason for his friend's deep sadness, but he could not. If the lawyer Salah had not spoken to his friend the engineer Sami on the phone, he would not have thought he would have thought Intisar was killed by someone and dead and gone forever. The bereaved lover Sami continued to weep and lament over the loss of his beloved Intisar for her spiritual death or her sudden religious suicide. While weeping bitterly over the loss of his beloved, he kept venting his hatred on the immoral infidels who are also the misguided Christians who brainwashed her and converted her to their false, distorted, and corrupt religion. His anger and hatred gravitated and multiplied minute by minute. He has begun to hate every Christian in the world. Salah finally gave in and walked out of the room, leaving his grieving friend alone. Sami continued to lament the death of his beloved Intisar. He felt as if the weight of the entire world had been placed on his head. His confused mind and troubled conscience concluded that he had lost his girlfriend forever. Why did those damning Coptic infidels do such an abominable act to the only girl he loves with every fiber of his body? Why should such an abomination happen to his beloved girlfriend and fiancée Intisar? Why cannot those accursed Christians help her without expecting something in return? Why cannot they help a girl of another religion without forcing her to leave her religion and accept their distorted and corrupt religion? With regard to his knowledge of the two religions, Sami had never heard in his life before today about a Muslim man or a Muslima woman who left Islam and converted to Christianity. Even bad and wicked Muslims would not do such an abominable act. He knows as intimate lovers that they have already gone through so much trouble and suffering, and now these infidel Christians who are Satan worshippers have added to their bleeding hearts yet more torment and another difficult, unsolvable problem. That is why he can forgive anyone who wronged his dear girlfriend and him, but not those wicked Copts who deceived his beloved fiancée and made her believe that their false religion was the only available solution to their intractable problem. He will even forgive his evil father and his gang members, but not those immoral Christian infidels who took his beloved Intisar from him and separated them forever. At least in the case of his wicked father, there was still a small glimmer of hope that they clung to in the hope that sooner or later they would find refuge from their country and immigrate to a beautiful secular Western country where they could marry and live happily ever after and have sons and daughters. But sadly, now that thin cobweb has been suddenly destroyed and all their hopes are shattered and utterly dashed by the sudden conversion of his Muslim girlfriend to Christianity. How does he tell his friend Salah and his fiancée Muna about such a shameful act committed by his beloved Intisar? Sami knows that the fairest innocent girl, Mona, has already gone through two cruel and painful kidnappings and two brutal rape experiences by, the, by members of Al-Wahsh gang, the imposter witch Dr. Haj Muhammad, and the Abu Shakhura gang. His best friend, lawyer Salah, stood by their side and defended their love with sincerity, uh, fought their enemies, and he was the one behind all the good plans that led most of their evil enemies to go behind bars. How can he tell him now this sad news about his girlfriend's apostasy from Islam? And what should he say to his other friends, the good citizen Walid Hamda and her half sister Badriya, when they ask him about his beloved Intisar, who is fleeing from the verdict of obedience of the Sharia court and the house of obedience of her so-called legal Muslim husband Hassan Mahjoub al-Hilali? What his apostate Muslim lover Intisar did make her leave the Islamic community and become a traitor and bitter enemy to every Muslim in the world, including her lover Sami himself. Therefore, she is no longer a girlfriend or a friend of his faithful friends, but rather a bitter enemy to them as well as to him. The apostate Muslim girl Intisar has also become an enemy to her creator, Allah, and a denier of the credibility of the prophethood of his beloved, the chosen one, the infallible Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. After that, Sami's mind turned to the family members of the apostate Muslim girl Intisar and started looking at them one by one. They all caused him unbearable pain. First, he thinks of her mother, Sarah. That poor woman had suffered so much because of his love affair with her daughter. Because of his love for Intisar, the mother lost her only son Usman and her youngest daughter Firdos. She's the, she's the only one in the poor family who continued to object to his love affair with her daughter from the start until the present time. She pleaded with her daughter, who she knows is from a poor family, to stop pursuing her fruitless love with the son of a wealthy man who is from the richest family in town. She told her again and again that no rich man in all of Sudan would agree to his rich son marrying a poor girl. Sami can forget everything that happened in his life, but he cannot forget the day when he and Salah returned from Khartoum city and brought with them the dead body of her only son Osman, who committed suicide by drowning in the Blue Nile River. How his mother Sarah wept on that fateful day and covered her head with dust and ashes. While she was lamenting, she kept saying over and over, I lost two of my beloved children, Osman and Firdos, at the same time because of the selfish love of my foolish daughter Intisar with the stupid boy Sami. The grieving The grieving mother cried and cried until she lost her voice. Before losing her voice, she rebuked Intisar for her fatal love, then turned to Sami and asked him to leave her house and not come back again. After the grieving mother kicked him out of her home, Intisar later told him that her mother swore to God that she would cut off one of her breasts if she continued her selfish love for that evil man's son. However, Sami did not feel bad when her angry mother kicked him out of her house. He knew and understood that any other mother in her place would have done the same or even worse than just kicking him out. After all the misfortunes that she was subjected to, What will the mother do now when she learns that her Muslim daughter has abandoned Islam and converted to Christianity in order to marry the son of the rich man? Moreover, her mother had accused Salah of encouraging her daughter Intisar and helping her escape from home. She went to his mother, Maryam, and informed her that of the sudden disappearance of her daughter. Intisar's mother told Sami's mother that her son was the last person she left sitting and talking to her daughter Intisar before she went to her room and fell asleep. That is why she thought her son had encouraged her daughter to run away from home and hide somewhere until Sami got out of prison. The mother Maryam confessed to the charge against her son and told the mother Sarah that her son Salah had been arrested by the police on the same charge. So when Salah got out of prison, his mother Maryam asked him to try to persuade his friend Sami to stop his fruitless love affair with the daughter of that poor woman, Mrs. Sarah. She reminded him that the poor widow Sarah had suffered so much because of this useless love affair. She added that when Sam is convinced, the two should ask Intisar to get out of her hiding place, return to her family, accept God's kismet for her, and live as a submissive, content, and obedient Muslim wife with her husband, Hassan Mahjoub al-Hilali, who is her legal husband. However, neither Salah nor Sami were willing to listen to this unacceptable advice. After Intisar's mother, Sami started thinking about her older sister Farida. Although she honestly and bravely defended their love affair at first, her commitment began to waver after the tragedy that caused her the loss of her beloved brother Osman and her dear sister Firdos. She wrote a long letter to her sister Intisar asking her to reconsider her love for the evil old man's son. Farida mentioned in the big letter that she expected the predatory human peace father would do anything to prevent his rich son Sami from marrying the poor girl Intisar. He had already raped and murdered their innocent sister Firdos and caused the suicidal death of their only brother Osman. Farida concluded her long letter by advising her sister Intisar to explain to her lover Sami that their fruitless love had created such hateful hatred in his father's heart for her and her family. Such bitter hatred and reckless anger would eventually cause his demon father to arrange the murder of the girl who supposedly separated him from his son and sent him and his crime accomplices behind bars. When Sami found out about the big message that Farida had sent to her sister, his eyes shed heavy tears for his beloved fiancée Intisar and begged her on his knees not to leave him. He even threatened her that he would burn his body to ashes and die a death more terrible than the death of her late brother Osman and the murder of her late sister Firdos if she abandoned him at such a difficult time in his life. He reminded her for the sake of her love, he lost all members of his wealthy family, lost his mother as well, and sent his evil father to prison. They all boycotted him and disowned him when they learned that he was the reason behind his father's imprisonment. Then the lover Sami assured his beloved Intisar that they would soon find the proper solution to their seemingly insoluble problem and immigrate together to a Western secular country, and all this will be like a terrible nightmare or a bad dream. However, his girlfriend refused to pay attention to his abundant tears and didn't accept his money arguments. It was the clever lawyer Salah who played an important role during those difficult days of temporary separation between his friend Sami and his beloved Intisar. His girlfriend, the fairest innocent girl Muna, also continued to bleed with Intisar, which is her best friend, until she finally convinced her to meet Sami at Badriya's grandmother's house. Slowly and gradually, their love returned to their hearts and was revived in their minds again. Now, after all these very sad and difficult days slowly rolled by, the apostate Muslim girl Intisar has done something abominable and worse than all the deeds of the accursed Satan than anything past that love brought to her family. She added insult to injury. Her unforgivable act will be a greater and more serious disaster for her family than the many disasters their love has already caused. Her abhorrent apostasy from Islam and her conversion to Christianity and her evil demand for him, which requires him to be a Muslim apostate and an infidel like her, is outrageous and unbearable. Sami knows a Muslim man cannot accept such a hateful request, even if he worships his girlfriend and loves her more than he loves God Almighty and his beloved Prophet Muhammad. What is his ex-girlfriend Intisar did is not only a crime, but a major crime punishable by Islamic Sharia law and leads to the death penalty. Sami concluded that if her love for him had promoted her to commit suicide, it would be more tolerable than her apostasy from Islam and her conversion to Christianity. Every Muslim family can tolerate every shameful act that their son or a daughter might do except this abhorrent act of apostasy. Even if their daughter becomes a prostitute and starts selling her body publicly to men in a brothel house, or their son becomes a deviant homosexual and starts living openly in a shameful sodomy relationship with another man, still it wouldn't be so much for them as the hateful abomination of Intisar would affect her precious Muslim family. For the first time, the rich man's son Sami truly regrets his love affair with the poor girl Intisar. In his heart, he wished to go back in time and space and stop himself from going to the cinema, Al Wataniya theater, Al Gadarif city, watching Intisar for the first time and falling in love with her at first sight. If they had not met that day and fell in love, her sister Firdos would not have been killed by his evil father, and her brother Osman would not have killed himself by suicide, and Intisar would not have married the selfish man Hassan, and perhaps she would not have become an apostate Muslim girl and destroyed their sacrificial love. While these difficult questions and dark thoughts revolved in his mind, the sad lover left the sad lover Sami felt that he was watching a horror movie full of zombies, goblins, and other scary ghosts, and the main heroine is the female vampire Dracula, who is his ex-girlfriend and now the devil's wife Intisar. All this time his heart was bleeding inside his chest. Meanwhile, his troubled conscience causes him unbearable pain, as if he had been stabbed with a poisonous dagger. Sami predicted that he might die of a massive heart attack, or that one of his veins might burst at any moment. To silence the terrible pain and prevent those dark thoughts from continuing and developing further, he rose to his feet and started walking aimlessly across the room. Without better control of his body, his feet carried him out of his friend's house into the crowded streets. No one saw him when he left the house. He left no somber note for Salah to indicate where he was going on such a hot day. He didn't even write a suicidal note. But of course, the three spies of his rival Hassan saw him and followed him. Sad lover Sami Osman Taib continued to walk aimlessly under the scorching sun in the streets for long hours. Finally, he got very tired and thirsty. He sat under the shade of a tree. He rested for a while, stood up, and resumed his walk. His feet this time are not walking aimlessly, but take him into a place he has never been before. However, the leader of the spies, Tia Kukod the Shaitan, had guessed where Sami and Usman al-Taib would go because he was born and brought up in that infamous neighborhood of the city. Chapter 59. The shoe of the prostitute Kaltumaya is cleaner than the face of the apostate Muslim girl Intisar. When the heartbroken sweetheart Sami arrives in the red light area of the brothels and taverns, he enters the fairest house he comes across. There are a few men scattered here and there in the tavern house complex. The heartbroken lover entered like a thief who came to steal something and sat down in a secluded corner. Although he hadn't asked for any drink, his local liquor order was brought to him at once. A large, tall woman approached him with a bottle of homemade liquor in her hand. When she opened her big mouth to talk to Sami, her big lips clapped as if they were her hands, and her nose snored as if she was asleep and woke in her sleep. She looks like a twin sister of Tukuku, the devil's son, who was the ringleader of the bodyguards at the haunted barracks number 13, or the mother to imprisoned gang leader Abu Shakhura with the Kalb. Her long teeth are yellow, and her nose is flat. Her little eyes are red. The hairs on her large head resemble crawling ants or a black raisins. Her dark color hid her eyebrows like the black niqab on the face of a Muslim woman. She has nothing to classify her as a beautiful female. It would be better to classify her as a male rather than a female. She's incredibly ugly. The ugly woman says to the new visitors that our house has been brightened by your coming, and we have been glad to have you. Thank you, madame, said the sad lover in an undertone. What is the name of our beloved guest? My name is Sami. Your name is beautiful, my love, like your bright face. Thank you, madame. My name is Kaltoum, but all my clients and beloved visitors call me by my sweet nickname of my beauty, Kaltumaya. Before we continue to tell this episode in the sad love story of the persecuted lovers, Sam and Intisar, something important must be mentioned here. For your kind information, this ugly prostitute and liquor seller is actually the real biological mother of the arrested criminal Abu Shakhura Del Kalib. It was she who, according to rumors, was raped and impregnated by a huge stray dog and gave birth to her only son. When she gave birth to him, she named him Abakarena Karbuz. His given name is that of her teenage lover, and his last name is that of her late father. When Abakarena grew up and became a notorious criminal, his gang called him Abu Shakhura with Del Kalib. Her late father, Karbuz, named his daughter after his late mother, Kaltoum. When she was a 15-year-old girl, Kaltoum became pregnant before marriage by her boyfriend, Abakarena. Her Muslim father, Karbuz, wanted to kill her in an honored killing when he learned of her illegal pregnancy. To escape death through honored killing, the pregnant teenage girl ran away from home and became a prostitute and liquor saleswoman. Soon after she ran away from home, she gave birth to a dead-born baby girl in a brothel. After that, she started having sex with at least 5 to 7 men a day. She became pregnant again by one of her clients, but she does not know who impregnated her. For her second delivery, after giving birth to her only son, she did not know who the biological father was. After the second birth, she never became pregnant again. No matter how many times she had sex with her clients without a condom, none of them could get her pregnant again. She became a barren woman and believed that God was angry with her or she was cursed by Allah. As we mentioned before, when her only son, Abakarena Karbus, grew up, he joined a gang and became known as Abu Shakhura with Del Kalb. His first name, as we mentioned earlier, means the father of snoring because he always snores while he's not asleep. And his second surname means the person whose father is a dog. When her son was born, his mother shot herself in the foot when she confessed to her clients who had sex with her that she did not know who had impregnated her among them. So this man saw her ugly son resembling an animal, and in particular a wolf, and then created that strange story that his father was a stray dog who raped his mother or in the creek when she went to poop out. She does not have a toilet in the brothel, so she uses the holes in the creek whenever she wants to defecate and urinate. It is a custom and common practice among the poor and homeless in Sudan to use holes in creeks and behind trees to defecate and urinate in them, just like dogs and rabbits. Her clients based their decision that the father of her son was a wolf or a stray dog on an old Arab custom. According to that custom, when a prostitute said she did not know the father of her son, her clients would decide his paternity based on his appearance. Islamic history books mention that this is how the biological father of the Muslim army commander Omar ibn al-As was chosen among the many Arab men who had sex with his red-flagged prostitute mother. During the era of the Prophet Muhammad, Arab prostitutes used to place red flags at the doors of their homes, which means that there are slots available for sex for money. This habit is still practiced in brothels and parts in some Arab and African countries, especially in Sudan. The clients of his adulterous Arab mother saw that her son Umar resembled an adulterous Arab man called Al-As and tied him to this ugly man who looked like a pig. This pastor, Umar ibn al-As, is the one who invaded Egypt and turned it into an Islamic country until today. However, when the mother of Abu Karena Karbus, aka Abu Shakhur or Del Kalib, introduced herself to her new guest, Sami, she poured some homemade liquor into a glass and handed it to him. Sami took the cup from her hand and hurriedly emptied it into his thirsty mouth. He felt like he had drunk flaming acid. He reacted violently by coughing and sneezing as if he had coronavirus. The woman Kaltumaya quickly poured more drink into his cup and handed it to him. Drink this quickly, my love, and you'll be fine. Sammy snatched the cup from her hand and emptied half of it into his empty stomach. A third and a fourth glass followed, and her handsome guest began to see everything around him spinning and dancing. Then the prostitute put the bottle in front of her beloved guest and left. Sammy continued to drink the bottle hastily as if he was drinking his evening medicine. After a while, Kaltumaya returned with another bottle in her hand. When the handsome boy looked at her face this time, it miraculously changed. He who saw her when he came no longer had the face of a big, ugly lioness. Her smile is now as charming as the smiles of a beautiful woman. Her voice became soft, musical, and sweet, like the voice of the most famous singer in Africa and the Middle East. Her voice is even sweeter than that of the two Sudanese singers, female singers, Hanan Bulbulu and Nadal Gala. Sami missed talking to her. His drunken mind and troubled heart began to compare Kaltumaya and Intisar. There is no doubt that Kaltumaya is a Muslim woman. She will never agree to change her religion under any circumstances. Intisar agreed to convert because someone promised to help her achieve her life's dream. Most likely, the Christian priest had promised that he would help her and her boyfriend flee their country and immigrate to Europe. In a Western secular country, she thought she would be able to marry her boyfriend and live happily ever after. In order for the evil church priest to help Intisar achieve her life's dream, he forced her to change her religion, sell her country, and adopt another religion, another country. In this way, the Muslim apostate Intisar became guilty of treason to her religion and country. Although Kultuma is a prostitute and a liquor seller, she is more loyal to her country and more faithful to her religion than his apostate girlfriend, Intisar. Sami concludes that his beloved Intisar is no longer his loyal and beautiful girlfriend, but has become an infidel, apostate, and cursed girl. She didn't deserve his love anymore. She is his enemy and not his girlfriend. The bitch Kaltuma is more loyal and patriotic than her. When his drunken mind made such an unfair comparison between his former lover and the terrified woman he had just met, the new beauty approached him, a bottle of alcohol in her hand. She seemed to him pure, holy, and immaculate, like an angel of love. And instead of taking the bottle from her hand, Sammy got to his feet, put his hands around her waist, and hugged her. Then he looked into her little red eyes and started whispering in her ear, Dear Kaltumaya, are you a Muslim woman? Yes, I'm a Muslim woman. I was born a Muslim girl and I'm still a Muslim and I will remain a Muslim until I die. Are you a Sudanese woman? Of course, I'm a Sudanese citizen. Do you love your religion, Islam, your Prophet Muhammad, and your God is Allah? I love them more than I love my late father. I love them more than I loved my late father, Karbuz, and more than my only beloved son, Abakrena, who is in prison in Kassala City. Do you love your country, Sudan? I'm ready to die for Sudan. Imagine, Kaltumaya, if someone promised to take you to a beautiful country, marry you, give you gold and money, would you agree to change your religion, which is the tolerant and beautiful religion of Islam, and embrace the false Christian religion, as well as you abandon your Sudanese nationality in order to live happily with that person? Even if he promised to give me all the treasures of the world and King Solomon's mines of gold and diamonds and silver, and make a palace of pure gold for me to live in, I would not change my religion nor renounce my nationality. When the liquor whore spoke those patriotic phrases and sincere religious words, again the sad lover embraced her huge body with love and affection. He also planted a quick kiss on her wide forehead. Kaltumai's big mouth found its way to Sammy's soft lips and almost swallowed them. When the harlot sucked the lips of the handsome guest, the grieving lover choked on the strong stench of alcohol from her mouth. He struggled to free his face, which seemed to be glued to her huge face. He was afraid that the hooker would suck his lips to death and kill him by suffocation or swallow him. No matter what might happen to him, the prostitute did not release her guest's soft lips until and continued sucking and licking Sammy's small mouth until she had obtained some measure of sexual satisfaction. Although she had sex with hundreds of her visitors, she did not enjoy such passionate kiss in her entire life. She felt intense pleasure, a real orgasm for the first time, even though her beloved guest dick did not touch her pussy. What a joy it would be if such a handsome boy were to share the bed with her tonight. She wishes that he would fuck her pussy and all night long, and the semen would fly into her womb and make her pregnant with handsome child after many years of waiting for a baby. She decided to tell him to shove your big cock in my pussy and fuck it hard even if I had to die while having sex with you. With such promising sexual prospects, his ugly new girlfriend miraculously turned it stunningly beautiful, whispered in his ear that she would be alone with him all night. Then Kaltuma hastened to serve her other guests. Sami continued to compare his apostate girlfriend to his new Muslim woman. Kultume is a drunken prostitute, liquor dealer, record seller, and drug trafficker. Most likely, she is also a thief, pimp, and murderer. Nevertheless, she said that she would not sell her beautiful Islamic religion nor her beloved country Sudan for the treasures of the whole world. Unfortunately, his girlfriend Intisar agreed to sell her religion, her country, and even his loyal love for the temporary pleasures of this fleeing world. She also threatened to separate from him forever if he refused to become an apostate Muslim like her. Her last words on the phone kept ringing in his head like the bells of hell. Sammy, I'm a Christian girl now. Well, my dear Sammy, we should meet tomorrow in the church and talk about this. But remember, my dear, if you do not come to me in Khartoum City tomorrow, our love will end and we will be separated forever. At that moment, her threatening words flew like poisoned arrows and hit his heart. They told him more than her contemptible mouth spoke. They pointed out that Intisar prepared herself to abandon him forever if he refused to follow the act of her abominable apostasy from Islam and conversion to Christianity. What evil thoughts those impure Christian infidels had planted in her now rabid mind. Sami concluded that her hateful words proved that she was no longer his beloved Muslim girlfriend. She died today in his sight and was out of his life forever. She no longer deserves his love because she has become an infidel, apostate from Islam. The recent comparison between the two girls proved to him beyond any doubt that Kaltuma is more loyal to her religion and country than Intisar. Although she's a prostitute, drug dealer, and thief. Then the sad lover, Sami Usman al-Tayyib, began to cry very loudly about his lost love, his infidel girlfriend, and his dead and gun fiancé, Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. Unfortunately, his loud voice, crying and wailing over his apostate Muslim sweetheart, disturbed another drunken guest. As a result, the drunkard began to scold the broken-hearted lover with obscene words and wild anger. You fucking bastards! Shut up! We came drunk and be very merry. We are not in a mourning house or a funeral home. This is a brothel and a tavern house. Damn you, pastor! Be quiet, you sodomite and son of a bitch. Shut your dirty mouth and fill it with this strong homemade liquor that is like burning acid. When the angry drunkard realized that his reprimands had not calmed the weeping boy, he got up from his chair and went over to him. The grieving lover did not hear the dirty words that the bewildered drunk used to silence him. While he was laying his head on his knees with his hand in his ears and crying loudly for his late beloved friend Intisar, he felt a strong kick on his chair. In a few seconds, the chair, the bottle, and the cup were all up in the air. When they landed on the ground, the bottle fell on Sami's chest and the cup hit his nose. He poured all the remaining alcohol over his robe. When he raised his eyes up to see the cause of the sudden powerful earthquake, he saw a huge black figure of an angry man standing in front of him like a terrible demon. Didn't I tell you to shut up, you filthy mouse? Do you pay out of pocket for the alcohol we come here to drink? We are here to spend money for our pleasure, not our grief. This is a brothel for fucking and drinking, not a place of mourning. We came here to drink forbidden wine, have forbidden sex, and then sleep on the ground until morning, as if we were thrown into the fire of hell. I'm sorry, sir. The beloved Sami said, while trembling in fear of seeing the black devil who suddenly appeared before his naked eyes. I couldn't control myself. Then he added, with stuttering words, I lost a very dear girlfriend of mine. So why don't you sit at home or go to the cemetery to cry for your late girlfriend? She's not dead, sir. She's still alive, but she died in my life. Loving, this means, oh fucking gay man, you are like the crazy Kais and his beloved Layla, that you have a problem. The Naranka says in a rough voice like the howling of a wolf or a coarse voice of an ogre or the roar of those zombies raised up from the graves. Yes, sir, I have a very serious and complex emotional problem and I need quick help and a solution to it before I have a huge heart attack and die of grief. May I know the cause of your problem? Yes, I'm looking for a good citizen like you who is willing to listen to my problem and give me some good advice. Can you tell me what your fucking problem is? Sir, before I explain my intractable love problem to you, would you please sit down? But before he sat down, the so called good citizen went to his seat and fetched his decanter of liquor, his mug, a bag of cigarettes, a bango, a snuff box, a snack, and his own chair, and came and joined one of his new acquaintances. When he returned it, he found the sad lover, Sammy, had reorganized himself, his chair, and his cup. Then the new friend poured some alcohol into his cup and handed it to the new friend. He also looked for and found Sammy's missing cup 2 meters away and filled it up too without washing it. I'm Sharafuddin with Musmar, the good citizen says in a thick voice, the tone of a traitor's voice in a horror movie. Then he added, but my friends call me with Musmar al-Aghbash. What a beautiful name you have, sir. Your parents have given you an honorable name. I wish my parents would have called me the honor of Islam, like the way your parents named you. What is the name of the crazy lover? Asked the man whose name means the son of a nail. Unfortunately, sir, my family call me Sami. Sami is also a good name. It means dignified and beautiful man. You look beautiful like our master and prophet Yusuf ibn Yaqub. Peace be upon them. But I am a complete loser in life. I lost everything in this world, including my father, my mother, and all my family members. And today I lost my beloved girlfriend as well. Never say that about yourself. Each of us sometimes goes through difficult times in our lives. Anyway, I'm honored to know Mr. Sami. Thank you, sir. I'm also glad to meet you, Mr. Wad Musmar. Then Wad Musmar al-Akhbash refilled the two glasses and emptied one of them into his big belly. Sami also drank the bitter liquor from his cup and looked at his advisor happily. Then he began to ask him some of those questions which he had asked the ugly prostitute Kaltumaya. Before I reveal to you the problem of my life and death, I must ask you an important question. Are you a Muslim man or not? You are asking me a horribly insulting question. Is it just a spontaneous question, or do you want to accuse me of blasphemy and heresy and apostasy because I get drunk every day here and fuck that ugly whore, Kaltumaya, daughter of the late Karbuz? It is just an innocent question and is not intended to accuse, insult, or offend you. You are asking me a very stupid question, as if I were a homosexual, Eritrean refugee man in your country. Are you going to ask me next, rudely, are you a Sudanese? Of course, I'm a Muslim, the son of a Muslim, and my late grandfather was also a Muslim. Likewise, my late mother, Kantoshaya bint Dawalbeit, was also circumcised Muslim woman, and she was genitally mutilated in her pussy when she was a child, and not a Southern Christian infidel woman who has uncircumcised big cunt. However, I'm a disobedient Muslim. I don't pray 5 times a day, and I don't fast during the holy months of Ramadan. I drink alcohol, I smoke shisha and bango. I steal things from people. I commit adultery with prostitutes. I rape young girls and married women, and sometimes I have sex with gay guys and fuck young boys in the ass through painful sodomy too. I have had sex with goats, sheep, ewes, chickens, cows, donkeys, and even several times I have exhumed dead women and young girl and had sex with these beautiful dead females. In short, Mr. Sami, I'm not a good Muslim, but I am definitely a Muslim. I was born and raised as a Muslim, and I will live and die as a Muslim. There is no power in heaven above and no authority on this earth below that can turn me from a Muslim into an infidel. I'm also a Muslim, say like you, but I don't do all those taboo things you said you do except drink homemade liquor, and I only started that today because of my heartbreaking emotional problem. So, Professor Sami, you are the son of a Maulana, the Imam of a mosque, but you ran away from home and became a bad young man. No, I'm not. I'm just an ordinary Muslim. I only pray during the months of Ramadan. During the holy months, I, I fast for a whole month and perform the 5 daily prayers. When the holy month ends, I usually stop praying. May I know why you are asking such a strange question? Why do you want to know whether I'm a Muslim or not? Do I appear to you as a cursed Jew, a Christian infidel, or an impure idolater like a Hindu or a Buddhist? God forbid, sir. You look 100% Muslim man. So what is your fucking problem? Tell the hell to me. My problem is related to religious differences. I'm in love with a Christian girl. So where is the problem with that? You can go ahead and marry her. Our tolerant religion, Islam, has never prevented us from marrying a Christian girl. I have slept with many infidel Christian women who came from South Sudan and the Nuba Mountains. When it comes to sex, I don't care who is under me. Even if she was a damning Jewish woman, I wouldn't mind having sex with her in her big butt or her red ass or her uncircumcised pussy. My problem, sir, is not related to sex or having any infidel woman on bed. I told you I have a Christian girlfriend. Then marry her. And if she does not satisfy you with sexual intercourse on the bed, keep her hanging in your marital robes and marry a Muslim girl beside her as your second wife. I can't do that, sir. If I marry her, I will not look for another girl because she means everything to me. By the way, Mr. Sami, why do you want to leave our circumcised Muslim girls and go to those infidel girls who are not circumcised? Our Muslim girl has a small circumcised pussy that is swing and tightly closed up through female genital mutilation that was performed on her when she was a child of 4 or 5 years of age, and is thus very pleasurable in sex as a bride, while the uncircumcised Christian girl has a light open pussy and never make your cock enjoy her in the fuck. I've slept with many women and I know the difference between these two types of girls. If you don't believe me, Mr. Sami, I'm ready to take you now to another brothel near the airport area and make you have sex with an uncircumcised Ethiopian Christian girl, and then you may sleep with a circumcised Eritrean Muslim girl. By God, by the majesty of his throne, and by the glory of our holy Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, you will know the difference between the two pussies of the two foreign women. Every pussy will prove or not prove to your cock it is pleasure and sweetness in bed. Sir, Sam interrupts. I'm not interested in comparing Muslim girls to Christian girls. I'm also not keen on talking about women and sex. By the way, Mr. Wad Musmar, incidentally, The uncircumcised infidel Christian girl whom our Islamic society calls Khalfa is more pleasurable in sex for a man because she has a clitoris and labia majora and labia minora in pussy, while our circumcised Muslim girl has a dead pussy as a result of amputating her clitoris and cutting parts of the labia minora and labia majora from her pussy when she was just an innocent little girl through female genital mutilation. In addition, the circumcised Muslim girl does not enjoy sex, which is torture and rape for her, while the uncircumcised Christian girl enjoys sex and reaches a clitoral orgasm because she has a clitoris and enjoys her sexual partner in bed when his erect cock enters her pussy and his semen flies in it and satisfy her sexual desire and give her an earth-shattering orgasm. This is nonsense and bullshit talk, Mrs. Sami, and it is certainly one of the lies of the Christian infidels, accursed Jewish, feminist, and atheists. They say that because they have daughters who do not get circumcised and purified when they are little girls and remain impure and their lives, all their lives, and they have enlarged pussies, and each one of them had the large con that can fuck your leg or a man's hand. Third, Musmar, please don't talk to me about the difference in having sex with circumcised and uncircumcised women. Then what do you want, man? Asked with Musmar impatiently. Please, sir, first listen to my problem and give me your good advice. My problem, in short, can be put in one sentence. My Christian girlfriend told me today that she will not marry me unless I turn away from Islam and accept her Christian religion. Let her go to hell. Why doesn't she accept your Islamic religion instead? After all, she is an uncircumcised infidel and does not follow the right religion. We Muslims, the Holy Quran said about us, walk on the right path, and we are the best community ever created by God. And the cursed Jewish and misguided Christians are following false religions. Islam is the only true religion in the whole universe. But dear sir, what Musmar, I love her very much. I cannot live without her. She is the hope of my life and means everything to me. I left my family because of her. I even sent my father to jail because he stood in my way of marrying her. Then come here every evening and cry for her and spoil our mood. Look, man, you are much younger than me, and you don't understand women as well as I do. I had married and had sexual relationship with many of them. One thing that is common among them, among women, they are all troublemakers. When you fall in love with a woman, you fall into a series of problems. When you solve one problem, she will come up with another difficult problem. As an Arab poet said, all women are devils who were created for us, and we men seek refuge in God from the evil of those damning demons. Another wise Arab man said that all women are shoes, but we men cannot walk barefoot. Our Holy Prophet Muhammad, may the best of prayers and peace of Allah be upon him, said that a woman is like a donkey and a she camel because all are mounted. And this means that women were created for us like animals so that we could climb on them, mount their bodies, and fuck them. And the messenger also said in another hadith, the woman is aura. She comes in the form of Satan and retreats in the form of the devil. This means every woman has a haunted mind. Her heart is controlled by demons. A woman is just a body without a brain. She's good for nothing but to fuck her on the bed, and get her pregnant with our kids. Her womb is like a production machine. The more you fuck her, the more children come out of her. There is no difference between her pussy and the pussy of a chicken, iwi, cow, or the she camel. Sherwood Musmar, Sami interrupts his advisors impatiently. I don't think that the woman is like the devil or like an animal. And I don't believe that her role in life is only to bear children to man, just like a machine. Do you want to tell me, Mr. Sami, that you know woman better than our infallible Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? I didn't say that. I know woman better than our infallible Prophet Muhammad. He knew them. He is the master of creation, and God sent him as the mercy to the world. I know all this, sir. The messenger of God, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, said, when a woman comes to you, she comes in the form of Satan. And when she turns away from you, she retreats in the form of Satan. But Musmar al-Aghbash repeated the same hadith that he quoted earlier. This means that this means that her heart and mind are haunted by demons. She also has the shape and image of the accursed devil. When you see her walking on the street alone, you will see the cursed devil in the form of a human female. Sami understood that if he said that was not true, then he would nullify the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, which his advisor quoted him twice. In this case, he himself will be accused of apostasy from Islam and declared a filthy infidel, may be killed by his Muslim advisor on the spot. Therefore, he kept quiet. When Sharaf ad-Din with Musmar share with his new friend his low opinions of all women in the world, he refilled empty glasses, shouted, and called out to the woman Kaltumaya about the liquor and asked her to bring their said help. Sami's new girlfriend, who is pretty and ugly at the same time, came quickly, fetched the said bottle of the strong aragi that made out of dates, set it on the table among her customers, rushed off to serve other drunks. She looked from afar at her beloved guest Sami, whom she fell in love with at first sight, sent him a flying kiss, and disappeared in her heart. Now tell me, Mr. Sami, you did not find a beautiful girl among our Muslim women, and that is why you went and fell in love with a girl among the cursed infidels who follow the distorted Christian religion? Why do you want to associate yourself with a girl among these uncircumcised infidels? Sir, interrupts Sami quickly. My girlfriend is actually born and brought up in a Muslim family. She was circumcised when she was a 5-year-old girl. So she has her pussy purified, circumcised, stitched, narrowed, made a tiny small hole, zipped, zapped, and securely closed up, and therefore it is genitally mutilated like any other Muslim girl's cunt in this Islamic country. Unfortunately, she recently renounced Islam and converted to Christianity. What did you say, Mr. Sami? The drunk Muslim man shouted angrily. Did I hear you say that your Muslim girlfriend had become a Christian infidel and apostate Muslim? Yes, sir. The curses of God, his angels, and all people are upon her and her family. Sami remained silent when his advisor publicly cursed his ex-girlfriend. He knows as a Muslim that his religion requires him not only to curse such an apostate girl, but if it is possible to kill her as well. I seek refuge in God from the accursed Satan. The Muslim counselor continued his words with great astonishment and anger. This is the first time in my life that have I have heard of a Muslim who became a Christian. Are you sure that she left Islam, the beautiful religion, and accepted the distorted, forged, and false Christian religion of the cursed infidels? Yes, sir. I spoke to her on the phone today, and she told me with her tongue, Sammy, I'm a Christian girl now. But tell me at least why she did such abominable act. Is there a valid reason that compelled her to change her religion? Yes, sir. There is a strong reason behind her abominable backsliding. What is that damning reason? There is a Christian priest who promised to solve her problem and transfer her from her Islamic country and send her to a secular Western country. For this trivial reason, she is ready to leave you as her lover and marry that damn Christian priest who will be an old geezer and go with him to the land of the white infidels? Yet you did not understand my words. My girlfriend still loves me. She did not tell me that she would marry a Christian priest. She's already married to someone else. If she was already married to someone else, why would you go after her? Do you want to tell me, man, that you fell in love with a married woman? You misunderstood me again. She was my girlfriend before that selfish man married her. She remained my sweetheart and continues to be my friend to this day after that evil man married her without her knowledge, consent, or presence. Before today, I was waiting for the right time to marry her and make her my life partner forever until death do us apart. Unfortunately, I knew today that she was ready to leave me if I did not become an apostate Muslim boy like her and become an impure infidel by converting to Christianity. She threatened to separate from me if I did not leave Islam and become a Christian like her. Then travel with her to a Western country abroad and marry her there. And we both abandon our religion and our homeland forever. I think my friend Sammy got really drunk and didn't know what to say or do. Are you giving me a riddle to solve, or are you telling me your unsolvable problem? Sir, I'm serious. I have told you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You say she loves you, but she still married someone else, and that man married another girl. She also changed her religion because she suffers from an unsolvable problem, and the Christian priest promised to solve it and take her abroad. She also wants you to change your religion and go with her to a Western country and marry her, even though she is a married woman and her husband has tasted her honey and she tasted his honey too. Now tell me, what is your problem with regard to a married woman who became an apostate? Do you still not see my problem yet? Listen, Mr. Sami, you know you cannot marry her because she is someone else's wife. Therefore, she cannot marry you or the infidel Christian priest at the same time because he is married to a third Muslim man. As you know, polygamy is allowed for men but not for women. There is no polyandry in Islam. Allah the Wise said in the Holy Quran in Surah An-Nisa 4 verse 3 that only a man can marry and have sex with four women at the same time. So why do you want to involve yourself in such a complex problem? My problem is more complex than you have understood it. Listen, respected Mr. Sami, you seem to be a handsome, well-educated young man and most likely from a great rich family. Then why don't you forget that damning apostate infidel girl and find a good Muslim girl, a man of good qualifications and physical virtues like you can marry the holiest and most beautiful virgin in this city, even if she is the daughter of the Imam of the Grand Mosque or the sweetest daughter of the richest family in Gadar city. Sir, I have told you that I love her very much and I can marry no other girl than her. In this case, go and kill her Muslim husband, kidnap her from his house, marry her illegally, and then live with her in the forbidden haram relationship. My problem is not her marriage to her Muslim husband, but her abominable apostasy from Islam and her hateful conversion to Christianity. Look, Mr. Sami, my last and wise piece of advice to you is to spit that accursed girl out of your mouth. She is good for nothing, and I will tell you why I think so. I'll give you 7 good reasons to prove my point. First of all, she is already a married woman. Secondly, she has sex in her virgin pussy and another man's penis got into it and she lost her virginity. Thirdly, she is unfaithful to her husband. Fourth, she is a traitor to her beautiful religion Islam. Fifth, she is ready to give up her love and abandon you. Sixth, she agreed to leave her beloved country, Sudan, and go to a secular Western country in exchange for a cheap promise from the church priest. Seventh, to fulfill her selfish demands in this fleeting life, she prepared herself to give up everything: her God, her religion, her prophet, her family, her husband, her country, and even your love. You know, Sarah Musmar, you have now hit the nail on the head and up to the point, and you are absolutely correct in your honest and wise conclusions. From the beginning, I knew I was going to hit the nail on the head and solve your insoluble problem once and for all and for nothing without charging you any money. So, my dear friend, Mr. Sami, as a sincere Muslim man, let us count from 1 to 3 and then spit and vomit that apostate, infidel, unclean, and accursed Muslim girl out of our pure mouths. So the two drunkards had their hands and raised them to God as if they were in collective evening prayer. Then they counted loudly from 1 to 3 and spat the so-called unclean apostate Muslim girl from their filthy mouths. At that moment, the beautiful and ugly woman, Kaltumaya, approached them with a bottle of locally made strong liquor in her hand. Sami rose to his feet, hugged her, and shouted loudly as if he's the muazzin standing on the top of the minaret of the largest mosque in town, and said, "The dead tissue of the Muslim prostitute Kaltumaya is cleaner than the face of the apostate Muslim girl and the infidel Christian woman, Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir." Immediately, the night counselor, Sharafuddin Wad Musmar Al-Aghbash, stood at his feet and congratulated his Muslim friend, Mr. Sami Osman Taib, on his new girlfriend, Kaltumaya Karbuz. Then the drunken lover tried to lift the huge body of the beautiful and ugly whore Kaltumaya from the ground, but he could not do so. Instead, the drug and alcohol saleswoman took him in her arms like a baby and carried him to her little hut, closing the door behind them.